So here's a public service announcement for my mama bears out there who have trouble, like legit struggle with people pleasing when it comes to their own children. Here's what I have for you today. No is not the end of the world for your children. Telling them no is okay. They'll live. They may resent it. They may have an attitude about it. They may, if that's how they get down in your house, they may yell at you for it. They may feel all kind of things about it. But at any age, any stage where you feel deep down that a no is an appropriate or the appropriate answer for the situation that your kids are dealing with, give them the no. It sounds like a four letter word in their ears. I understand. It probably sounds like a four letter word in your ears sometimes. I mean, who likes to hear no? But no's are necessary. Okay, I'm going to admit off the bat, no's come to me easy. Uh, I'm a New Yorker. If you don't know what that means, any New Yorker out there knows what I'm getting ready to say. When you go from A to B, and God help you if you get on the subway, maybe they've changed it now, but when I was growing up there, any number of people are going to approach you asking for any number of things. They want to sing you a song, they want to play an instrument, they want you to buy something from them, they want something to do something for you so that you will give them money in return. And if you were going to get where you were trying to go, by the time you were trying to get there, you had to learn how to incorporate no into your lexicon real fast. So the way I'm set up, no's come to me easier than some people. I will acknowledge that. My children can verify that. I can whip off a no, especially if I feel like you are now encroaching on my vision for my day and what I'm trying to do. And I weigh the scales and I'm like, no, it's not worth all that. I will give you a no. But in all seriousness, no is how we have literal boundaries, personal boundaries, between people, boundaries for ourselves. It's because we have learned to incorporate no. You have to learn how to tell other people no, and you have to learn how to tell yourself no. That is a skill. It's a necessary life skill that, like many other life skills, nobody is born with. It has to be cultivated. And the way a child becomes an adult that is able to tell themselves no, know when the alarm goes off and they have to get up and go to work and they don't want to. They'd rather go play basketball. They'd rather go shopping. They'd rather just sleep more. No is what they have to tell themselves so that they get up and they go to work when they don't feel like it that day. It's what you have to do, it's what I have to do when there are things that need to be done that we would rather not, depending on the level of responsibility we have, who is depending on us, the domino effect of us not showing up and being in position and doing what we have been tasked to do. We have to stop and tell ourselves no. No, you may not do what you want to do that just works for you. You need to go walk in your responsibility and do what people are counting on you for. Children don't come like that. You were a child, and when you were a child, you wanted to do what you wanted to do, when you wanted to do it, how you wanted to do it. Now, some kids are more stubborn about that than others. Some are more compliant, but all of us have that in our nature. We are born that way. We want to do what feels good, what feels right, what is pleasing to us. And with all of us living here, we cannot all do what we want to do. They cannot go to school and do what they want to do. Now, a lot of these kids haven't figured that out because a lot of their mamas haven't let them know at home that's not how this goes. Because you're setting the tone at your house for how they should engage the world, how they should function in society. What to expect are the norms, the social norms that keep the world spinning, or else there would be complete chaos. And that involves the ability to defer to someone else, to fall back, to step back. Sometimes you have to step up and speak up for yourself. And then there's sometimes you have to read the room and you have to fall back. Or there's sometimes you have to realize it's not about me, it's about this mission. I'm only a part of it. And for this mission to go forward, I have to tell myself no on this and save my push for something else. You have to weigh things out and decide, is this the hill I want to die on? Or is there something else I need to be more emphatic about? And I'll just save it for then. But you have to learn how to tell yourself no. And you've done it before, even with your child. You've told them no. Otherwise, they'd be a burn victim. You know why? Because if they're like most children, they have seen a fire if you cook, and if you have a gas stove, if you have a fire pit, if you have a fireplace, they have seen fire. And fire can be quite mesmerizing. It's inviting. The sound of it, the look of it, the warmth of it, you want to touch it. And when you are 2 years old, that seems like a good idea. And it's absolutely not. And so there you are telling your child no. And they wholeheartedly want to. And they think it's the best idea ever. And they cannot for the life of them understand why you won't let them. But you understand, because you understand the danger. You understand what will happen to them if they get their way and do what they'd like to do. That concept does not change just because that child is now 12. Because that 12-year-old is at some point going to be 22. And the name of the game is the same. There will always be something that they see, that they want, that at the face of it looks like a good idea. But if you follow that thing through to the end, it's deadly. Literally deadly, or the death of an opportunity, the death of a relationship, the death of a dream. You don't see that up front. You just see the shiny thing, the thing that's glistening, the thing that seems like the perfect thing, just the thing, what I want, even if it's not the perfect thing, just what I want at this time. And if they have never had a no, if they've never been given the gift of hearing no, and I don't mean the no that you come back and 5 seconds later you acquiesce and you like, okay, what? No, I mean a no. I mean, I said what I said and I meant it, and don't ask me about it anymore because the answer is no. That kind of no, if they've never had that, they will never learn to give themselves that no. And they will be out here 22, 32, 42 having tantrums because the world is not accommodating them when they say, I want, I want, I want. So I just want to get on here and encourage you. Girl, use your no. No is indeed a whole sentence. We like saying that. We like to get on social media and make our little graphics. No is a whole sentence. Indeed it is. And it is a whole sentence for your child as well. An entire sentence. When they are young, no is the sentence. There is no explanation for that no because your 2 year old, your 3 year old, your 5 year old does not reason. That means when you're giving that explanation, it is in their ears the Charlie Brown womp, 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 womp. They don't understand the rationale. They just know that they want that. And why is it not in my hand? That's where they are, and that's where they're staying. They don't understand all of your reasoning because developmentally they're not there. Now let me tell you, I have a nephew. He's actually my grandnephew. He's my niece's son. You will swear that child is 40 years old. You know how these kids are now. Like they come packaged like they're 40, but in the mind, they're still four. Like if you give it a minute, you'll find out he's still four. But the way he can talk to you, the amount of vocabulary he has, and the way he will try to reason with you in trying to convince you and charm you into a yes, it's impressive. I must say, it's impressive. The problem for him is that his auntie's from New York. She has been set up in a way, and not only am I from New York, I'm just from a different era. I'm from a time where uh, parents parents weren't friends with their little children like they were parents, and they functioned in that way, and they understood that they have had experiences. They've been children before. They've tried everything you're thinking of. I've tried to do it. I might not have had the tools that you have currently to do it, but the things are all the same. It's nothing new under the sun. It's just now we have gadgets and gizmos that can help us get into trouble faster or more extensively than people back in the day. But the same types of things we want to get into is always the same. And so I've done what you're trying to do. And I even understand your thought why you think it's a good idea. But I also understand, because I have some years on you, why that's not going to work out the way you're hoping. And so, yeah, we're not going to do that. We're just going to skip all of the trauma part of it, and we're just going to say no. So I come from that time where a child heard no and they understood that that was the end of the conversation. And you may have had a question about it, but you were going to be real careful about how you asked that question because you realized you didn't need an answer per se for the no. You weren't guaranteed an answer. Depending on the kind of parent you had, they would indulge you. I didn't have those. Let me give my dad some credit. We did have conversations, but again, I was older. He wasn't telling me as a 3-year old no and giving me an explanation. And no, he didn't have to have a psych major like I do, or be a pediatrician like I am to figure that out. He just had lived long enough and had had enough children to figure out that this little girl does not understand why I'm saying no, and she doesn't need to. She just needs to hear this bass in my voice when I say no and understand that it's a no. Now, when I got older, um, and I can ask why and say, this is what I want to do and how come that was entertained, and we had great conversation, and I had enough sense to approach that conversation respectfully. So my kids know. They know that I have no problem saying no. They also know that I have no problem with hearing their rationale because my husband and I are raising thinkers. I don't want to give them blanket no's all the time, and everything is not I said what I said and that's what I mean, although ultimately that is what I mean. But there is always room for conversation when they're of an age where they can reason, because I need them to own the word no eventually. Because I'm not going to be telling them what to do all of their lives. That's not the point of this. The point is for us to raise them to be self sufficient adults who are respectful and responsible and make appropriate contributions to society, and who have learned as much as possible to live peaceably with all people. Okay, so that's where we're headed. And to do that, you need to be a thinker. You need to be able to think for yourself and think through an idea that you have, or think through options and decide which one is the best for you, which one you'll have to say no to so that you can say yes to something else. You need no's to be able to say yeses. Okay. So that's what we're raising them to do. And so because of that, they need to be able to ask, well, what is the no for? Or if we give the explanation and they disagree and see it another way, oh, sure, let's hear your other way. And you know what? Sometimes I've come around and seen their point. But those times when the answer is no, it is indeed no. And I let them know we have concluded the conversation on this matter. I have heard you. You have heard me. I have heard you. You've heard me again. I heard you again. And then I said no. And then I wrap it up. It's a no because of blah 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 blah. And we're done. We're not going to have extended back and forth. We're just not. Because I've given you the courtesy of hearing you out. And now I'm giving you this no fully informed. First, I gave you the no based on what I understood at the time. Now I've heard what you have thought. I've added that to my word bank, and it's still a no. Because what? There are things that I know as an adult of lived experience that informs my no. And here's the thing. Sometimes the no is just because it just don't feel right. I don't even really have an explanation. It just doesn't sit well with me. And 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 that's all there is to it. I can't tell you how many times I have told my child it doesn't sit well with me. And one time they'll come back and be like, Mom, remember how you wouldn't let me go to so and so's party? Well, that party got shot up. Huh. I didn't know that, but I said no. Didn't know why I was saying no. I just knew something wasn't right. And I said, you know what? No, not this one. And sometimes they're like, oh, you always doing too much. That's fine. But um, it's called women's intuition for a reason. That you might call it intuition. For me, it's the Holy Spirit. And when he tells me it's a no, when I feel that thing in my stomach, or it's just an off feeling in general, it's going to be a no. And my daughter cannot stand that because if she's not a lawyer, I don't know what else she'll become if she doesn't become a lawyer, because that girl likes an argument. We're not arguing because this is not that kind of party, but she likes to try to have an argument. And what you can't argue with somebody who's like, I don't know, just no. It doesn't feel right. No. And she doesn't have anywhere to go with that, and it frustrates her to no end. But it's okay. She'll live. That's another thing you should know, because I think some of you are so afraid of your children having tantrums. You're so afraid of them being older and saying silly things like, I hate you and I will never speak to you again, or other crazy things like calling you out your name. And you're afraid of these experiences. And so you just acquiesce and you give in because you think, well, it's better that they like me. I'm not sure what the actual concern at the core of it is. If you really think that telling them no will be the thing that ruins your relationship forever, that they'll never speak to you again, that they'll leave the home and have a whole family of their own and you'll never get to see them because you've told them no, that's really not happening. Let me tell you what happens when you tell them no. They have a fit, depending on how serious they want that thing. They'll have a fit. They'll be upset. They'll stop talking to you for the rest of the evening, maybe even the next day. And then they'll need something. And they'll need it from you. And they'll get over it. They'll get over it. And I'll tell you this, you can stack your no's. You can tell them no more than once. And they will not break. They will not fall apart. They act like they do, but they really won't. And I know parenting is stressful. These days it's heavy. It's heavy. You got a lot on your plate. You're working more hours. You don't spend as much time with them as you'd like to. And then the time you spend with them, you're not trying to have it be confrontational. I get it. Here's the thing. This is a season. They're not going to be in your home forever. They're not going to be at the age where they need to listen to you forever. There's a time when they're under your roof and they're your dependents, and you have full right to not only tell them what to do but to give them parameters for what they're able to do. But then they grow up. and they make these decisions for themselves, and you move into the role of counsel or a coach that they can just refer to if they have a question and get your advice. They don't have to do what you say. So you need to make the most of the time that you have to imprint on them the values, the character, the integrity that you would like for them to have in order to be positive people in society, people who are not disruptive, people who add value to other people's lives, um, people who, again, know how to live in this world and not be at odds with everyone because they have to have their way all of the time. You have to parent with the end in mind, not for your present convenience. Nothing about parenting is convenient. You know how you knew that? Because from the time you were pregnant with that child, depending on how your pregnancy went, some of us, sometimes I was sick during pregnancy, sometimes not, but I was always eventually uncomfortable. By the time that child was due to be born, I was very uncomfortable. And let that be a sign to you that that discomfort was going to be a running thread throughout your motherhood journey, particularly those years when you are really hands on, when you are really bringing up a child in the way they should go, when you are really being their first teacher, which is who you are, by the way. You are their first teacher. You set the tone. Don't let them go to school and that teacher is having to tell them things for the very first time that they have never heard in your home. It's not right. You have set her or him up to fail. She or he should not be the first one saying no to your child. They should have been heard no at your house. It's so many reasons to say no to a toddler and to what? By the time they have gotten to school, they should have heard no. But all of this, please and please stop, and you're in the store trying to explain to them why. No, ma'am. Here's what you do with a toddler who don't want to accept the no. You give them a no and you redirect. No, you can't have that. Here, hold this. No, you can't walk through the store and walk around and walk away from me, but you can ride in this cart that has the little car with the steering wheels, and you could pretend to drive the cart. You can do that, but you're not going to walk around this store and just take things off the shelves. No, you redirect. You find them something else that is appropriate for them to do that they would enjoy, and you offer them that. But you have to understand the child you have in terms of their personality, their temperament, their intellect, right? So that nephew I was talking to you about, I can say more to him than I can an average 4-year old. We can have an extensive conversation. He said to me last night, because his big brother has his driver's permit, and he, now is driving on the highway. And my nephew says to me, the little one who's 4 years old, "Oh, when I turn 5, I'm getting my learner's permit, and I'm gonna start driving." Like what? He's cute. He's serious, but he's cute. But it's not happening, right? So even when he turns 5 and he's like, "I'm getting my learn," we have to have. No, you're not. Now go over here and play with these action figures. But your situation can be more uh, dramatic than that, more inconvenient than that. Who wants to be in the store when the no happens that goes wrong? No one. The way you avoid that is the no should happen at home. They should understand from you, from being in your home where you are loving them and caring for them. And because you love and care for them, you have told them no because the thing that they're asking for is dangerous. They should have already heard that, so that by the time they get to the store and they hear no, they may not still like it, but it shouldn't be like a revelation. It shouldn't be like the worst thing they ever heard. They've heard it before. And so, no heard enough times, right? You get exposed to it enough times, and then you realize, oh, this person really does use the word no. No shouldn't be your favorite word in the dictionary. No is a selected word that should be used at the appropriate time because the situation requires it. What they're asking for is dangerous, or this is not the appropriate time, or they're not mature enough to handle whatever it is they're asking for. So, no. But when you can, yes, give a yes, give a yes. And again, if you redirect, it's a no with a yes, right? If you practice redirection as much as possible, it's a no to this, but a yes to this. So it does take the sting off of that because nobody likes to hear no all of the time. Everything I ask for is a no. And so you redirect. You do it with your toddlers, do it with your teens. Okay, just because they have more words and a more extensive vocabulary, and because you're tired from work and you don't feel like talking, don't just be like, okay, whatever. Hey, this thing is not convenient, but it's also not forever. So I know at that time, on that day, it feels like you do not want to have another conversation with another somebody about what they're unhappy about and what they want and how they want it now. And you're just like, make it stop. And so the temptation is very real to just say yes to whatever they want. Girl, they know that's what you're going to do. They're counting on that. You were a kid once, you know the deal, you know when to strike. And so, be ready, be a savvy mom. You were a kid once. Remember what you were like, and be ready because these kids are 15 steps ahead of you. So my daughter knows if I'm tired, like I'll give her the scenario. If you see this, and has gone on, don't ask me for anything at that time. Don't even ask me because I know that I'm not like my full strength. I'm not on my A game. I could be susceptible to saying yes to something that is not good for you or that I'll regret later. So don't ask me right now. Hold that thought and circle back. Um, so that's a no for your own sanity. But no's are necessary. They're not going to break anybody. They're not going to be the reason. In fact, it's more likely that if you have never said no to your child and you have let them do whatever they want to do, you have more likely taught them that you actually don't care about them. Because, like I said, kids are smart. They know who loves them, and they know who is more interested in self-preservation than love. And if your yeses are just because you can't you can't handle any sort of conflict on any level, and you're easily overwhelmed, and maybe you have past childhood experiences where your home was filled with yelling, and so you avoid anything that has the potential for any raised voice at all costs. You don't have to yell to communicate. You can't control how that child responds, but you don't have to yell. And even as they're yelling, you come back in your regular tone and said, the yelling is not going to work. I'm not yelling. We will not be able to have this conversation as long as you're yelling. And there certainly won't be a change in my answer as long as you're yelling. So you're going to need to bring that volume down if you'd like to talk to me about why I've said no. So you're not a victim. You're a parent. And I hope this video encourages you that as overwhelming as parenting feels sometimes, as discouraging as it feels sometimes, as much as you pour out and as much as you give, and as much as it feels like these children or this child of yours does not care and just wants more and more and more, and is never satisfied, and it's always something, As much as you feel all of that, it will not be this way for long. And part of your responsibility, part of your charge, part of my charge is to take this child God has given to us, given to you, and say, okay, I got a good 18 years with you under my roof. What can I do? What can I instill in you? How can I love on you and lead you so that you are going out into the world the best version of yourself at that time? You'll get greater as you're out there because life will teach them better than you can tell them. So they'll get greater. But what are you setting them up for? How well have you prepared them for this world that they're going to go into? You have to arm them with a no. They need to have heard you say no so that they can tell other people no. Your daughter needs to know how to say no. You know what I mean? Somebody's coming at her with a slick tongue. He's got a lot of ideas. He's got a lot of moves. He's real charming. She has got to learn how to think that thing through and be like, it's a no for me. Yeah, it's a no for me. This world is constantly making propositions to our children, all on their phone, all through social media, everywhere you turn, propositions. And they have to learn how to utilize no. And if they've never heard you say no, and they have this idea that everything is awesome and everything is possible, but not all things are beneficial. And that's the key to life, to navigate this thing, spotting the stuff that's beneficial amongst all what's possible. And that's part of what you teach them. That's part of what your legacy is. That you teach them that, and that they can teach their kids that, and that they're able to live a fulfilled life full of joy and peace. Because the children who've never been told no can end up in a lot of bad situations. And I don't want that for you. And you don't want that for you. You don't want that for your children. So I hope this has encouraged you. I hope it has given you a little oomph. Girl, use the no. Use the no. They will not break. They will live and not die after they hear no. Trust me. And so will you. So will you. So until next time, when it comes to you being the mother of your children, please remember, you are the woman for the job. You got this. Take care.